What's up, you guys? Century Productions here, and welcome to the Watchtower series. If you're new here, this is just basically a deep dive into my toy photography. I show you how I light my setups, how I pose my figures, how I come up with my ideas, all that good stuff. So this is going to be kind of a longer video than I normally post. This month is, of course, ACBAs OcTOYber, a month-long toy photography contest where everyone's welcome to join. Each day has a different theme. Basically, if you can, you go through all 31 themes for the month of October, and each theme is different. You can kind of come up with the ideas based off of what you believe or interpret the theme as. It's always a really fun little competition that, you know, I started way back in 2020, and I think if I hadn't participated in OcTOYber over the last, 4 years or 3 years, I don't think I'd really be the toy photographer that I am today. It's really taught me a lot. It's kind of an endurance kind of competition to see if you can really make it all 31 days and keep the quality of your pictures up that whole time. So it's really fun. I always think it's a really cool event, you know, coming up with the ideas, kind of flexing your display muscles, as Boog Nice would say. So really cool little competition. So we're starting off day one, which is this shot right here, and the theme for today is back to formula. Now, a lot of the themes are like play on words, and like I said, you can interpret them however you want, either literally, figuratively. You know, a lot of them are movie references or pop culture references or comic references. So this back to formula, the first thing I think of is Green Goblin. Of course, back to formula, it's got to be a quote pulled directly from Spider-Man with Sam Raimi. Of course, Willem Dafoe's character, the Green Goblin, in that scene when he busts out of the tank after getting the serum, basically grabs the guy close and he's like, back to formula, and then he proceeds to murder the guy. So that was what I thought of. I thought of the Green Goblin. I'm kind of replicating a comic panel right here. I think this was from Siege the Cabal #1. I think it was like a prelude to Siege, the storyline from 2010, around that time. And this was basically just Norman trying to, you know, figure out whether or not he was ready to invade Asgard, I believe. Something along those lines. Anyways, it's been a long time since I read it, but I kind of saw this picture in passing, and I was like, oh, I think this would be actually a really cool start to OcTOYber. So this is going to be my first picture that I'm submitting for day one, back to formula, and we're going to kick this video off like that. I'm not going to spend too much time on all of the days, maybe like a minute and a half max, I'm hoping. Just so we can kind of go through all 31 and just kind of see the progression and see if I was able to keep up that quality like I said. So day one, back to formula, here's my shot. Alright, I'm on day two, and the theme for this is Diamonds in the Rough. It's an acronym, it's spelled RUF. Or in the ACBA community, we call that rarely used figure. It's basically the chance for anybody that has a figure that doesn't really get used a lot, a lot of people don't take pictures of it, for them to kind of get on the table and play around with it and see if they can come up with something dope. It's an acronym that's been used in the community for several years. It's been used on pretty much every OcTOYber, so it's always kind of fun to kind of think of, oh, what figure do a lot of people not take pictures of and, you know, try to get on the table. So of course I went with Spy Master here, an old Iron Man villain, and kind of with the play on words, I got him looking at a diamond. You know, Spy Master is an expert saboteur, and I kind of have this shot kind of set up with a bunch of these little lasers, like he's in you know, a jewelry room where he shouldn't be, trying to steal this huge diamond, which is an old accessory that came with one of those guys from Squadron Supreme from a couple months back. And I kind of use this little dice case right here to kind of build this little enclosure to look like that's where they're housing the big diamond. And I am really happy with how this turned out. All these little strings right here in the foreground, the background are all just yarn, and I have red lights under them. So that is what I'm doing for Diamonds in the Rough. I think this one just kind of came together. Alright, so we're on day 3. The theme for today is Canon event. This is obviously referencing the new Spider-Verse movie, or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I had to look this one up. I haven't seen that movie just yet. I watched the scene where they're basically explaining what a canon event is. Basically, it's like every version of the character experiences basically a similar version of a certain event, i.e. Spider-Man, Uncle Ben's passing, like all the Spider-Mans experience, like a loved one close to them dying, something like that. So I figured for this, a lot of people would probably be taking Spider-Verse or Spider-Man Miles Morales shots. So I started thinking about like the comics continuity and thinking about canon events, which is kind of a cool idea. I like the idea of canon events, another example would be like Captain America going through Project Rebirth and getting the serum. Started thinking like that about like Captain America, Iron Man. Then I kind of eventually made my way to Thanos. I'm thinking across the multiverse, I guess. A canon event for Thanos would be him snapping his fingers and doing the snap and killing half of life, or erasing half of life. So I went real simple with this shot. We just got Thanos standing there, got a little snap cutout using the really cool extra hand that came with this set a few years ago when it was released. Very simple shot. You can see all the lights around. Got lights in the back pointing at the background, pointing towards the figure in the camera, pointing to the sides. Just make sure it's really nice, well lit. And we got our settings really low, our shutter speed really high. Very simple shot, very fun shot. One of the easiest ones so far. So let's check this out. Alright, so we're on day 4. The theme for today is To the Rescue. When I was thinking of this theme, thinking of ideas, my first thought, I don't even know why I went to Giant Size X-Men #1. Of course, in that story, very famous X-Men, first appearance of Colossus and Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, Storm, second appearance of Wolverine. Basically in that story, the X-Men team is in trouble on Krakoa, which is also the first appearance of Krakoa. And this new team that's being organized by Charles Xavier is sent to Krakoa to rescue the other team. And it's To the Rescue, man. It just made sense in my head. A lot of these figures I haven't shot before. I haven't shot this Storm before. I haven't shot this Thunderbird. I don't think I've ever shot Nightcrawler. And Nightcrawler is literally one of the coolest characters that's ever been conceived of. So I kind of knocked this one off my bucket list. I love this team. I love the new X-Men. And it's just an all-around great issue. I got to use my Scott Summers from the old 2-pack with the Phoenix right here. I kind of mashed together a second appearance Wolverine with the head from the Love Triangle set, and then the first appearance body. Kind of played around with this base and some forest elements to kind of make it look like they're on Krakoa. And I think this one really came together. So this is my To the Rescue shot right here. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 5. The theme for today is Up, Up, and Away. I figured a lot of people would probably be taking Superman shots, which is dope. I contemplated taking a Superman shot, but I've been doing this OcTOYber thing for a while now, so whatever I think the majority of people is going to do, I want to do something different. So I decided to go with the Mjolnir cutout. Pulled this from, I think, the 2010 Thor run. I just thought the art looked really cool on it. I believe it's Salvador LaRocca, correct me if I'm wrong. I originally had the 80th anniversary Thor in there, but I just really couldn't manipulate his body to have him really look like he was throwing the hammer. And I kind of had to look at the shot aiming down a little bit because, of course it's up, up, and away. So I kind of wanted to get that feel that the hammer was going up into the sky. Threw some cutouts in the back, used the sky background that I've been using a lot lately. It just really pops on camera. It's got that really nice blue with the clouds. And this Jane Foster really came in handy. I was really able to manipulate her and get her to look like she was really chucking that hammer. And it's not that bad of a figure. I think it's really good. And I don't think I had any other themes where I had a female as the focal point of the shot. Well, I guess the hammer's the focal point, but where I had the female as the hero of the shot. So this kind of worked out. So yeah, this is Up, Up, and Away. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 6. The theme for today is Last One Standing. I kind of had a couple different ideas for this one. They kind of didn't pan out the way I wanted them to. Since this is kind of like a marathon and not a sprint, the whole, OcTOYber contest, I decided to just kind of abandon the first couple ideas when they weren't really working out, and I went to kind of something that I knew would work out really nicely, and that's with this Goliath and Wolverine right here. This of course is from Marvel's Age of Ultron comic, which is an amazing comic, which spun off and gave us a movie that had nothing to do with what the comic was about. But this moment in the comic is when Wolverine is basically trying to kill Hank Pym to stop him from creating Ultron. They have this little moment in Hank's lab, and Hank kind of picks up Wolverine when he grows as Goliath. Made this cutout probably close to a year ago, never got around to shooting it, so it kind of came in clutch when my first couple ideas weren't really panning out. I think this fits the theme pretty well, last one standing. I like the perspective here. Of course, this is a smaller cutout, lots of little cuts, very difficult, but from what I remember when I was doing this one, I kind of got it done, went in there and just kind of took my time with it. And using, of course, the Marvel Universe Goliath figure, which I don't think we'll ever get a Goliath that's bigger than his normal 6-inch one we got a few years back. So it's kind of fun to pull this figure out and shoot this little cutout shot. It's very reminiscent of one of my old Giant Man cutout shots. And this one was really fun, and I'm glad I kind of came to my senses and realized that, hey, I got cutouts that I haven't been using, so I can kind of use those for these shots. So let's check this one out. Alright, I'm on day 7. The theme for today is the big 3, or like Trinity. Basically, I guess what they're alluding to is like Captain America, Thor, Iron Man from Marvel, or of course Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman from DC. But of course, like any other theme from OcTOYber, you can interpret it however you like. So I decided to try to go the other way. Maybe you guys are starting to see a trend. If the consensus might be thinking one way, I'm trying to think the other way. So I was thinking about what other 3 characters are like the most popular, but you never see them considered as the big 3. And I was like, Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Wolverine. I was like, come on, if it's not Iron Man, Cap, and Thor, it's got to be these 3. Probably, in my opinion, the 3 most popular characters in Marvel. Well, maybe Iron Man as opposed to Hulk, but Wolverine and Spider-Man definitely belong in that conversation. So I was trying to think of what some ideas I can do to integrate these guys into a setup, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I kind of just pulled this setup out of my ass. I'm hoping this makes sense. Basically, this cutout says that's one way to break open a wall, Hulk. It's pointing at Spider-Man saying it, so hopefully people can interpret that Hulk threw Wolverine through this wall. That's what I'm trying to gain from adding that cutout in there. So let me know down below if you're like, I didn't get that at all, that cutout doesn't make any sense, this setup doesn't make any sense, we hate you. Let me know down below. But anyways, this is day 7, the big 3. Let's check it out. Alright, we are on day 8. The theme for today is panels. Pretty please. Each year they do some kind of panels theme. Basically take multiple shots and then arrange them in the style of a comic book panel, or you can just panel them up however you like. I've been kind of having this idea in the pipeline for a while. It's basically Kraven without his lion vest. Talking about this little lion vest right here. And then of course I have an actual lion right here. This is the Chronicles of Narnia Aslan, which actually scales very well with Marvel Legends. Very old figure, I think it's like 2007. And basically I have Kraven kind of facing off with the lion. I'll show the progression of the panels. I'm not going to show you guys here, but you'll see in the final shot. And basically at the end he'll be wearing this vest, since he'll be victorious after defeating the lion. I think it's kind of a cool idea. And it is actually kind of easier to get him in a lot of poses without him wearing this vest, which is kind of funny. But I've been wanting to take this shot for a while, so when I was looking at all the themes, I just kind of looked at it and I was like, oh, I think I have something kind of lined up already. I did have to figure out how to arrange the panels and like the sequence, because I want to make sure that all the panels are fluid and the storytelling is very natural and easy to understand. So that's where I'm at with this. So, one of my lights just went out, but yeah, let's check out panels, pretty please. Alright, so I'm on day 9. The theme for today is all about the 80s. They did a theme very similar to this last year. It was like all about the 90s, or I love the 90s, something like that. So I was thinking about the 80s. I was thinking about, what comics came out in the 80s that I was really into. I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s, but, like Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, of course, kind of came to mind when I was thinking about the 80s. And then I was thinking about, I still have like all this stuff I can use to make a really cool Dr. Manhattan shot. So I decided to go with that. So this is going to be for all about the 80s for me. I made a bunch of Watchmen cutouts too that I never got around to making. More specifically, these Dr. Manhattan cutouts. So what I did is I put glass down. I put the cutout on the top right there. And, a lot of this chapter 4 from Watchmen, is very deep Dr. Manhattan kind of deep thinking type of chapter. And I really love that chapter. It's my favorite chapter in the whole book. So I pulled a lot of different cutouts from it. And I went with this one. It says, "Who makes the world?" Very deep, kind of thought-provoking kind of question or cutout for this scenario. So I thought it worked really well. Just kind of got Dr. Manhattan standing there. This is the old DC Direct Dr. Manhattan from the Doomsday Clock run. It's not that great of a figure, but it's the only Dr. Manhattan I have, and it shoots really well, so decided to set all this stuff up. Got the background, which was actually pulled from the comic, got the pink sand, got all the lights, kind of all just came together working with glass. I did kind of do a sneaky edit in Photoshop where this is actually blue. It doesn't look blue through the camera, but in the actual comic it's blue, and for some reason I have this light that's right above it and it's washing out all the blue, so I did go in there and just kind of add the little blue tint to the actual shot. But other than that, this is all completely tangible. I don't really do editing all that often, but for this particular scene, I felt that I kind of had to make that blue to kind of match the comic. So let's check this out. Alright, so we're on day 10. The theme for today is Locked and Loaded. When I thought of this theme, initially I was like, oh, it's gotta be Punisher, Locked and Loaded. Immediately my mind goes to like guns, and when I think of guns and Marvel characters, I immediately think of the Punisher, maybe sometimes Deadpool, but mainly the Punisher. And then Loaded, I was like, okay, Locked and Loaded. Maybe I'll have him drinking some beer. I have a bunch of these like fake Budweiser beer bottles and Budweiser can. So then, I don't know, this one I came up with the idea pretty quickly. He's sitting in a chair, he's got a gun, he's got a drink, he's locked, he's loaded as in he's drinking all the beer and everything. And then I started playing around with all my props. I always have a blast when I'm setting up shots where I get to play around with my props, because I don't really use them all that much. I play with a lot of cutouts and stuff, so I don't usually use the props in a lot of my pictures, so I kind of played around with that. Got this little Punisher newspaper, stuck the knife in the wall. I thought that was really a nice little cool touch. The cinder blocks, the beer bottles, got another newspaper down here. It says Captain America's assassinated. Just like little details, didn't want to throw in too much stuff. Used a dio I bought probably a year ago, kind of like a dungy, dirty house. I thought it fit Punisher very well. So yeah, this is Locked and Loaded. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 11. The theme for today is Meme Me Out. Every year they do some kind of meme-related theme, and it's always like one of the funner days to check out everyone's pictures, because you see all like the current memes and old memes and all kinds of stuff, so it's always one of the funner themes. It's also one of the things that I typically will like struggle with for some reason. I don't know, like I have my own brand of humor, and like trying to condense that into like a single image, sometimes it's a little difficult for me. So what I tend to do, or at least I've done the last couple of years, is I'll just look for memes for characters that I have in my collection, like Star Wars characters or Marvel characters, and I'll just look up memes and see if I can just replicate them. That way I know the meme will be funny, and I don't have to like sit there and guess whether or not people will find it funny. So I was just kind of sifting through memes, and I came across this Yoda one, the Yoda meme, and it's basically me, this is what the meme says. It says, me trying to stay sleepy when I get up and pee at 4 a.m. And it's got Yoda doing the Force, trying to pull up the X-Wing. Thought it was really funny, and this was probably the easiest shot, one of the easier shots I've had to do. Got the laptop as the background of the Dagobah swamp, and then just got a couple of lights, and then I'm just going to be focusing in straight on his face, cutting out a little square, and then I'm just gonna overlay that over the top of the existing meme, and voila, it's gonna be done, easy, and I can move on to the next day. But I think people are gonna think this is really funny, and I think this is the only Star Wars shot I have for the entire OcTOYber event, so let's check this out. Alright, so we're on day 12. The theme for today is Origins. This was kind of one of the easier themes to work with. Kind of went through my cutout stash, looking at, stuff I hadn't used, and came across these little panels right here. I forget which Hulk comic they're from, but basically this is just his transformation into the Hulk. So this whole shot is kind of like an ode to his first transformation as the Hulk. We got these little smoke cutouts right here. All these cutouts are attached to his body. I do want to say really quickly though, it being day 12 in this competition, I can definitely feel all these shots becoming easier. I can set them up fairly quickly, shoot them, and then move on to the next one if I'm feeling doing multiple that day. So I just thought I'd share that. It's just like this competition, it can go either way. It can either get harder the further you go into it, or in some cases it gets easier. So right now it's getting easier for me. But yeah, this is a really cool shot. I really wanted to play with the panels, and I didn't want to put them exactly straight because the Hulk's transformation is so chaotic itself. I thought maybe angling all these little panels would be pretty cool, and I think this ended up looking really awesome. Got the smoke in the front, got that nice blue gradient going in the back, which is just created with a little light back here. Nothing crazy, and yeah, this is a really cool shot. I like the blue in the back with the green, the purple, the cutouts. It's all looking pretty cool. So this is day 12, Origins. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 13. The theme for today is Pixel Power. This was kind of like a harder theme to kind of think of an idea for. I started thinking about video games, and then I guess my mind eventually went to computers, Pixel Power. And then I came up with this idea. If you guys don't see, there's a little blue screen on Arnim Zola here, and it's basically the blue screen of death, or when Windows crashes, your computer crashes. I have no idea how I came up with this idea. I just think it's so clever, and sometimes that's just how it happens. I mean, you guys may not think it's that clever, but to me, I'm like, I can't believe I came up with that idea. That's so funny, dude. Anyways, I remembered back in the day you could pop open the Arnim Zola by going through the back and popping this part over, and you could actually replace the face plates. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's what we did way back in the day when this figure first came out. I believe this was the second wave, or the second Build-A-Figure for the Return of Marvel Legends. So I just popped it out, cut a little piece that kind of fit to the faceplate, and boom, now it's kind of like when Arnim Zola is trying to boot up in his lab, it's like his system is crashing. I think it's hilarious. Hopefully most people think it's funny as well, but that is my idea for Pixel Power, so let's check it out. Alright, I'm on day 14. The theme for today is Good Guy for Once. This is probably the theme I struggled with the most. I don't even know why. It's such a basic theme too. I guess maybe I just was thinking too much about it. I always think it's really interesting where you take a bad guy and kind of put them in a scenario where they end up being the good guy. I've done that a lot with Sandman. Sandman's my favorite Spider-Man villain. I've always found him really interesting. He was an Avenger at one point for a very brief moment. And I always like kind of making him the hero in a lot of scenarios as opposed as the villain. So I knew I didn't want to take a Sandman picture because I actually have Sandman planned further down the line for another theme. So I started thinking about other Spider-Man villains, and I came across Venom, and I just sat there for I remember it being a week before I even started shooting, looking at the themes, trying to come up with ideas, and I just literally could not come up with an idea for Good Guy for Once. Initially I was going to have Venom carrying out some scientists, he's saving the day. But I eventually just kind of went to a very basic type of shot here. This is heavily inspired by my buddy Scott Warren, who takes shots like these fairly often, where he has one figure in an action pose slamming another figure on the ground. He does an amazing job with that, so I kind of used his blueprint for his shots and kind of made my own version of that here. We've got Venom with the sound effect cut out right here, slamming Carnage into the ground. Does this make sense for the theme Good Guy for Once? Kind of. I wouldn't say it is really that good as far as the theming goes, but at this point, with how, far I am into OcTOYber, I just wanted to take a good picture. Doesn't matter so much that the themes are 100% spot on, but I think this is a really cool picture. I like the oranges, the cutout. I like this blue and purple and black background. I think the contrast between those is really, really cool, and it creates this really interesting composition. So this is my theme for Good Guy for Once. Let me know what you guys think of that. Alright, so we're on day 15. The theme for today is Take a Break. So day 15, we're about halfway through the OcTOYber toy competition. I don't know if they plan Take a Break to be about halfway through, but I feel like it's a very appropriate theme for today. Put a lot of work in so far. Like I said, we're about halfway through, so we still got another, 16 themes to get through, but I gotta honestly tell you guys, I've been having a blast. I've kind of stayed true to what I told you guys at the very beginning of all this. I'm trying to do everything simple. I'm trying to do it accurately to comics, and most importantly, I'm obviously trying to have fun, and I'm kind of building on my own style. I think throughout this competition, I've really realized, man, that trying to replicate comics as closely as I can, that's my style, man. So I've really been loving that. So I thought I would try something new with Hellboy by Mike Mignola. There's hundreds and hundreds of different Hellboy comics. I love the 2 movies that came out way back in the day. Hell, I even like the newer movie with the dude from Stranger Things. I forget his name right now, but when I saw this piece, I forget which comic this is from. It's just kind of a window with a really iconic Mike Mignola type of landscape type of art. And we got this, what is this? Was this the 1000 Toys comic Hellboy? I can't remember off the top of my head, but this is actually the KO version. It's a really horrible figure, honestly. The arms keep falling out and everything. But I've always held on to it because even though how horribly posable or how horrible the articulation is and everything, I always thought it's like a spitting image of the actual Mike Mignola artwork. So I've kept on to it. This is the first time I'm shooting it. I mean, this is about as accurate as a Hellboy figure from the comics you'll ever get. So I really wanted to bring in and kind of pull it all together, get this really cool, simple Hellboy shot. And it's just him standing in front of a window. And I feel like this scene is very appropriate for Take a Break. It's just him staring out the window. Looks like he's taking a break. So this is my Hellboy shot. This is halfway through the competition. I'm still feeling great. I'm still having a lot of fun. So let's check this out. Alright, so we're on day 16. The theme for today is Against an Army. Kind of went with the safe picture here. I knew Hulk, missiles, gunfire, all that shit. I was like, oh, this makes sense for Against an Army. For some reason, this was another theme that I just couldn't come up with an idea for, so I just kind of resorted to a very basic theme. Obviously, we got the SH Figure Arts Hulk. This is one of the very few SH Figure Art figures that I still have held on to over the years. I think this is a phenomenal figure. Of course, this is from the version in Thor Ragnarok. Super posable, awesome figure. Using the 2 effects that came with scrap iron. I actually got a couple of scrap irons because I like the effects and the accessories so much. So I got 2 of the longer missile trails for this. Working with a really low f-stop, so you won't really see the missiles in focus too much. The main focus is going to be the Hulk's head. I've got a little background back there. I had to really kind of condense this shot, crop it very close to the Hulk. I don't love this shot, but I think it's still a good shot. Used a little bit of this poly right here to kind of get under the lens and give this kind of smoke kind of effect right there. So overall, I think this is a clean shot. I think it works pretty good for Against an Army, and I'm actually just more excited for the next 5 or 6 shots because I think I've come up with some really cool ideas, some very comic book-esque type of shots, which of course are my favorite, and I'm really looking forward to shooting those. So we're gonna get on those right now. So let's check out this one first though. Alright, so we're on day 17. The theme for today is Say Your Prayers. I was thinking of the theme Say Your Prayers, and for some reason I just immediately thought of Hoard the God Butcher. You know, in that 2013 comic run, has like some of the most badass lines I think that were written in comics in the modern era. There's a couple of actual speech bubbles that I just pulled directly from the comic and actually cut out probably like close to a year ago when this figure first came out, and I haven't got around to using them, so I was able to finally use a cutout that says "I smell God flesh." I think it's just such a badass line. I think it's a really interesting looking speech bubble too. And I was also able to level up this figure with this soft goods cape, courtesy of Soft Goods Studio. He makes some of the best soft goods for your 1/12 scale action figures in the game. And when I saw he was coming out with this, I was like, oh dude, I have to get that. Because that was the one thing I didn't initially like about the figure, is that the hard plastic cape that he came with, it still looks good, but this one just looks like literally 1,000 times better. So super happy I got around to shooting this. The bottom of the shot here was a little too plain, so I've been using poly. You saw that in the last shot, so as I pull that kind of closer to the camera, it kind of gives this like smoky kind of effect. I know like where he normally is, kind of like, for some reason it reminds me of like Purgatory, or what I think Purgatory would look like. So I went with kind of like a colder kind of environment for this shot. So yeah, this is for Say Your Prayers. I think this is pretty cool. This is one of the ones I was really looking forward to shooting, and let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 18. The theme for today is Nightlife. I was trying to think of ideas for this theme, and you know, thinking about characters at night. I had already planned on taking that Dr. Manhattan shot, so then I started thinking about Watchmen. Then I was thinking about these two Black Freighter Club Mattel Watchmen comic version of the characters, and I was like, you know what? These figures don't really move that well, but I could probably get them into like a vanilla pose and on a rooftop at night, something like that. And then I was kind of looking through all my cutouts, and I realized that I had this really cool picture of Archie, the owl ship from Watchmen, and I figured I could blow it up and, you know, turn it into a cutout. So we kind of got that in the background there. Funny thing about this cutout though back here is that both the windows, they were like, it had both of them in one of the windows. So basically I took a copy of this window and just copied it right here. So if you look closely, you can see that they're both the right window, but I thought that was pretty clever on my end. But anyways, I think it looks great back there. You know, doing OcTOYber and taking all these different shots, it's kind of got me realizing what I want to take more shots of once I've completed OcTOYber. And right now I'm thinking I want to take a bunch of Hellboy shots, and then now I want to take more of these Watchmen Black Freighter Club figures or shots of them. And I still need to get the Rorschach, the Comedian, and the Dr. Manhattan, so I think I'll try to complete those once I'm done with OcTOYber, but still feeling good. I haven't really taken a lot of pictures the last couple days, so I'm about a day ahead right now, so I think I will take more shots. Oh, one of my lights just went out. I will take more shots in the next couple days, but yeah, let's check this out. Alright, so I'm on day 19. The theme for today is emotion. Originally I had a Thor shot planned, but then I got this 2-pack in, which is the SDCC exclusive of Deadpool and Bob, and I really think these are great figures. I think this is the best Deadpool figure we've ever got. So as I was playing around with that, I came up with this like random idea with this pink rocket launcher, and then I was like, a pink rocket launcher for Deadpool, that's hilarious. What would Deadpool say if he was firing the rocket launcher? And then I was thinking of My Little Pony for some reason, and I came up with friendship is magic, motherfuckers. And I basically made the speech bubble, and then originally I was going to have Deadpool holding the rocket, but then I thought, wouldn't it just be so much funnier if he was like straddling or holding Bob super close? So that's where I got the idea for this. Kind of nixed the Thor shot, and I actually end up thinking I like this a lot more. Kind of got him leaning over this little railing that came with an old Diamond Select Shatari figure. Got a little nice printed background back there. Maybe this is him on like a overpass. Who knows? Deadpool's always up to something silly. So this is my idea for emotion. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 20. The theme for this day is Hoard It All. This is kind of a special theme for me because being a moderator and ACBA it means that we each get to typically pick a theme for OcTOYber, and this was my theme. My initial theme was Hoarders, but they kind of spun it into Hoard It All, which I think is actually better than my initial theme. So I'm really excited to see what people do with this theme. You know, it's not just me doing this competition. There's like 50 other people that have been consistently doing it over the last 20 days, and it's been really amazing to see everybody kind of progress and their ideas for their themes. A lot of funny stuff, serious stuff, really dynamic stuff, just lots of really cool pictures. So I'm excited to see what they get for Hoard It All. My idea when I was pitching this theme was people getting all their accessories together and kind of just showing them off. So naturally I went with Hercules. I don't know why I'm always photographing this figure. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. This is the retro Hercules. They also came out with Hercules from the 2018 run where he was the hero in Brooklyn. But I think I just love this classic look for Hercules. I think it's just, like I said, it's fantastic. Took a bunch of swords and just piled them on top of them. This was my initial idea, even when I was pitching the theme. And then I just kind of stuck them in this little castle setting. This is a diorama by Myron Studios, who's a phenomenal dio maker, and he makes just really cool, especially ancient ruins kind of displays. So I love using this diorama. This is probably honestly my favorite diorama I use. But yeah, this Hercules just photographs so well, especially the smiling face. I think it really just sells the fact that he's holding all these swords. Obviously, he's not going to be using all these swords. So yeah, that's my idea for this theme, which was my theme, Hoard It All. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 21. The theme for today is Rebirth. I just immediately thought of Sandman when I was thinking about this theme. You know, I always think about my favorite characters. I keep them in my mind when I'm thinking of these themes, and Sandman is like one of my favorite villains of all time, definitely my favorite Spider-Man villain. And, you know, he's also a character that has also became good at certain points, depending on who's writing him at that time. He was also a member of the Avengers too. Every time I talk about Sandman, I always give like the same couple facts about Sandman and why I love the character so much. This is the retro Sandman from Marvel Legends, of course. They've made quite a few different versions. I still think the Toy-Biz version is probably the best, but I wanted to use these little effects right here, kind of like he was growing out of the sand. Of course, I have sand kind of all spread out. Kind of a messier setup here, but this is the idea I wanted for Rebirth. I thought it made sense, you know. He was just a petty criminal, and then he gets caught up in this experiment, and now he can, you know, manipulate sand and make body parts and extremities and stuff like that out of sand. So I thought this was kind of a simple shot to do, wouldn't take too long, but still kind of got the point across for Rebirth. So let's check this out. Alright, so we're on day 3. The theme for today is Simple Sunday. This is probably the easiest one on the whole list. If you guys haven't been in the ACBA community for very long, Simple Sunday is something they do every Sunday on the ACBA Instagram, where they compile about 6-7 very simple looking shots with, you know, just nice lighting, a very simple pose, and they highlight them or they feature them on the Instagram. So it's just kind of, you know, to be able to feature something that doesn't really have like a super crazy set design or crazy poses or anything like that, but you know, you can still highlight those really simple, nice looking shots. So I knew this shot was going to be very easy. I was kind of inspired by Batman, the animated series, of course, obviously with Commissioner Gordon right here, and probably my buddy Brandon, who runs Batman the Articulated series, which he does just mainly Batman the Animated series shots, and this is probably like basically straight out of his textbook as far as how his shots are usually set up. Very nice vibrant background, nice little cutout of a city skyline. Got the police do not cross caution tape right there, and then Commissioner Gordon kind of looking down like who knows what he's looking at. Maybe somebody died, or maybe this is when Bruce's parents got killed. Who knows? However you want to interpret it, but I had fun with this very simple shot. So yeah, this is day 3, Simple Sunday. Alright, I'm on day 23. The theme for today is OGs only. OG, of course, you know, originally meant original gangster, but you know, it also kind of refers to somebody that's been around, that's really good at what they do, you know, old school stuff like that. So I started thinking about like old school characters. I was initially going to take an Invader shot, you know, with Namor and Captain America and Bucky and all them. But you know, I was kind of looking through, you know, the backgrounds I had and everything, and I came across this background which is actually pulled directly from the show, and I found this nice little Optimus Prime cutout right here. I believe that's what Spike kind of sticking out. And then I was thinking about the Transformers RED figures from a while back, and you know, these figures don't transform, but they're actually really nice figures. They photograph really well, so I figured I could kind of throw something together here. I made this cutout years ago. I've never gotten around to use it. This is also pulled from the show. You know, I love taking shots like this. This is very nostalgic for me personally. I love Transformers. I don't really take a lot of Transformers shots, even though I have lots of Transformers cutouts, lots of backgrounds for Transformers. I could literally go like a whole year and take nothing but Transformers shots, and I would have plenty of source material and stuff to shoot. I don't know. I love my Marvel, but it was nice to get around and actually shoot some Transformers here. Love G1, of course, and I wanted to get this as close to the cartoon as I could, really up the saturation, you know, get the cutouts blurred, the background blurred, get this Bumblebee in focus, and I think I really captured kind of that feel, that animated feel of Transformers. So let's take a look at this for OGs only. Alright, so I'm on day 24. The theme for today is Dream Big. This was one of the easier themes for me to come up with an idea. Coincidentally, I was gifted this figure from my buddy Bever Clever. This is the Iron Giant figure from Diamond Select. I put one of these little action figures, kind of used some blue tack and stuck it right on his shoulder. It's not an action figure, it's a 1/100th scale like person that I got at Hobby Lobby. It works great for like kaiju shots and stuff like that, and kind of playing around with the shadows. Obviously I can do that because there is this light up feature on the Iron Giant, so everything else is black, but his eyes are still very much in the shot, and we got the nice space background. I just thought this kind of worked really well with the theme, and this is what I'm going with. So kind of shooting it in this kind of weird, like not landscape, but kind of portrait mode. Maybe put in some text that says Dream Big above it, or maybe the Iron Giant logo, something like that. Just kind of playing around with it. Such a simple theme. I think it would be kind of cool to maybe add some text and make a poster out of it or something. But this is my idea for Dream Big. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 25. The theme for today is Say It with cutouts. If you've been following me for a while, you know I love my cutouts, speech bubbles, comic book cutouts, all that stuff. So, of course, this was probably one of the easier ones for me to think of an idea. Kind of got like this battle scenario. We got the fence in the background. We've got these little Czech hedgehogs, which you might have seen from, like, you know, D-Day, World War II. These were very common, like anti-tank, boat weapons, or some, basically to stop people from getting artillery on the beaches. These are actually cutouts, believe it or not. So when they're in the background, kind of out of focus, they really are believable as Czech hedgehogs. So they're really cool. Ooh, one of my lights went out right here. So using Ultimate Cap, absolutely love this Captain America figure. Put him on the old bike from World War II. And you know, he's got the brown belt, so I thought it kind of fit the bike. And then of course we've got the speech bubble right here. It says, "I've got news for you, shithead." Not really something Captain America would say, but if you guys have ever read the Ultimates, we know that the Ultimate Universe is kind of a little bit more grimier, a little dirtier. A lot more messed up things happen in that universe. So I feel like this would kind of be an appropriate thing for Captain America to say in that universe. So that's why I went with that. But anyways, this was a really fun shot to take. Kind of been, you know, a little drained lately with taking shots, so it's nice to kind of get back to these Marvel Legends, especially Captain America. Shots like these I just really enjoy taking. So let's check this out for Say It with cutouts. Alright, so we're on day 26. The theme for today is Suit Up. This was a very easy theme for me to figure out which character I wanted to use. Of course, Iron Man. I've been shooting a lot of Iron Man, not just in OcTOYber, but just in general, so I wanted to switch it up just a little bit, so I decided to go with Riri Williams right here. Ironheart, I think this is an excellent figure. I love the head sculpt on this figure, both the mask and the actual human head. I think they're fantastic. Decided to go with a little cutout right here. I've got the AI Tony Stark, which is just a normal cutout. You can actually just kind of pick it up and place it around. I've got this the little chessboard that came with the Stan Lee to hold him up. You know, it works. And put a blue light right here, right next to it. Make him shine. Gives like this really cool effect on the side of Riri's head as well. Of course, using the Disney Toy Box Hall of Armor playset back here with all my Iron Man. Of course, I've got to have Silver Centurion in there because he is my favorite Iron Man suit. And yeah, this is what I decided to shoot for Suit Up. I believe they had this exact same theme a few years back, and it's usually just a bunch of Iron Man shots. I mean, you can be any character suiting up, but I usually go with Iron Man. So, fun little shot. It's kind of bare bones, just the cutout, Riri, and the Hall of Armor playset. Not really too much going into this. So, let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 27. The theme for today is Unlikely Allies. I knew I wanted to use this Marvel Legends retro Doctor Doom figure, and I wanted to use Iron Man in some kind of capacity. I was initially going to have both the classic versions of the Legends back to back facing off against some kind of enemy, but I came across this cutout. Like most of my cutouts, I don't always have the source or remember exactly where I pulled them from. Some of the cutouts you might see in my videos, I might have held on to for like a couple years. Because I source them so often that I just kind of stockpile them, and then when I get around to actually using them, I'll use them. So that's kind of the case with this cutout right here, but this is kind of a cool cutout. We got Iron Man, She-Hulk, and Black Panther looking at a screen, and as you can see, I cut out the screen, and now I have the retro Doctor Doom behind the cutout looking like he's in the screen. And then of course, just to kind of sell the story a little bit more, I added a very small cutout within this cutout Inception, that says I need your help. So this kind of fits very well, I think, for the theme Unlikely Heroes. Or was it Unlikely Allies? I don't know why I said Unlikely Heroes, but Iron Man and Doctor Doom have teamed up quite a bit in the comics, like here and there, you know. Even though they both don't really like each other, I think they've always had a mutual respect for each other, especially both of them being geniuses. So I thought this fit very well, and I got to finally shoot this retro Doctor Doom that I've had for a couple of years now, which I think online is like $70 now. I can't believe that. Super weird. Anyways, this is Unlikely Allies. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 28. The theme for today is Darkest Timeline. This was kind of a fun theme to try to think of an idea. Immediately I was thinking of villains, and of course, you know, I'm a Marvel guy, so I was kind of going through the checklist of all the different villains, and you know, I first thought about Ultron and Kang, and then some X-Men villains, and then I thought about Red Skull, and I was like, what could be a cool idea of a really dark timeline? I don't even know how I came up with this idea. I'm actually kind of surprised I came up with such a cool idea. A very simple idea in retrospect. Red Skull holding Thor's hammer, which, you know, obviously means the Red Skull is worthy in this timeline. He's got Captain America dead at his feet, or however you want to interpret it. This one took me a couple days to come up with the idea. Typically for OcTOYber, I'll write all the themes down and then kind of come up with the ideas over the course of like 3 or 4 days. And I think this was one of the last ones I came up with an idea for. Very simple setup. Got the really cool cloud background, which kind of sells the effect of, you know, he's now the god of thunder, or however you want to interpret this. Didn't really have any lightning bolts or anything to kind of put in the background. I'm not really good with light painting. It's just never something I've really been strong at, but worked with some really low settings here. Really just put the focus on Red Skull's face and the hammer, and everything else is out of focus, the foreground, the background, and I think I came up with a pretty cool shot here. So let's check this out for Darkest Timeline. We're creeping into the end of OcTOYber, and I gotta tell you, I'm a little excited to kind of get these last couple shots out the way so I can finally take a break, because it's been pretty intense. But let's check this out. Alright, so we're on day 29. The theme for today is Do You Bleed? This is obviously a Batman reference, right? I mean, like most of the themes, you can kind of interpret them however you like, but when I hear Do You Bleed, it reminds me of Batman vs. Superman. You know, when Superman and Batman have their first confrontation on top of the Batmobile. I've just been kind of dying to shoot this armored Dark Knight Returns Batman again. I think this is probably, other than the Dark Knight Returns Superman, I think this is probably one of Mafex's best figures they've ever made. I don't really collect too many Mafex figures, but when it comes to Dark Knight Returns, it's my favorite Batman story, so I had to kind of pull this one out since it was a Batman theme. And this is a very simple shot, kind of using the Alex Richardson method here. Lots of very bright lights, very low settings, low f-stop. All that to get this really cool effect, the light kind of bouncing off the sides of the figure. It's just a really cool, simple shot. And I gotta tell you, I love shots like this so much. There's not really a lot going into like the scenery and the posing and all that, but it's really the lighting that's the key here. So this is my idea for Do You Bleed? So let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 30. Day 30. We're almost done. We're almost there. Just one more. And the theme for day 30 is Bump in the Night. My initial idea for this was actually I was going to use Sleepwalker, which is a figure I have not shot yet. And I came up with like this cool setup and everything, but I'm just kind of exhausted from taking shots almost every day. I mean, I've taken a day off here and there, and you know, some days I've taken multiple shots. And that setup with Sleepwalker was going to be way more elaborate than I really wanted to set up, so I decided to go with a zombie type shot. You know, we're getting closer to Halloween here, and I was kind of thinking about Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, those old George Romero movies, and I remembered this old zombie Marvel Legends figure that came out from OcTOYber way back in the day. I think this is from like 2003, 2004-ish. This came out in the Monster box set, which is a pretty expensive box set nowadays. And you know, this figure is very dated. You know, it's got very clunky pieces of articulation, the ball joints and everything. But the sculpt, man, this sculpt on this figure is just absolutely fantastic. It's a figure I've never shot. The paint applications on it are fantastic. It's a really fun figure to pose around. So I decided to kind of create this alleyway full of trash, very reminiscent of Day of the Dead. If you guys remember in the opening shots of Day of the Dead, even though that's in the daytime, it's very dirty, lots of trash. So I really wanted to kind of emphasize that in this shot. Lots of trash, lots of stuff on the ground. If you can see, I have this little newspaper right here that says The Dead Walk, which is actually pulled directly from Day of the Dead. And I think it's kind of a nice little accent to put on this shot. And the funny part about this whole shot is this is way more elaborate than I was ever going to do for the Sleepwalker shot. But at this point, I'm just having fun. So this is what I'm doing for Bump in the Night. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're on day 31. The theme for today is This Isn't Goodbye. At the beginning of OcTOYber, I always go through all my cutouts and see which ones I haven't used. You know, I source a lot of images, lots of different cutouts. You know, I like actually making the cutouts too. It's kind of like therapeutic for me. And that's why I think I've gotten so good, is because just for fun, in some cases, I just make cutouts, and even if I don't use them, like I said, I find it kind of fun to make the cutouts. So I was going through all the cutouts I haven't used, and this was one of the ones that popped up, and I kind of went through the list of the themes, and I was like, you know, this actually might work for the last theme. You know, this is a really cool cutout. This is pulled directly from the animated show, A Real American Hero. Very simple. Just him kind of sitting on the throne, was kind of playing with different backgrounds. I initially had red, but I thought the top of the snake was kind of blending into that a little bit too much. So I decided to go with yellow, kind of gives that like animated feel. Of course, working with the new G.I. Joe Classified Firefly. Just got this in from Amazon a few weeks ago. And I was able to shoot this guy. I was initially going to use Sartan. But this figure is excellent. Love this figure. Initially I had him with skin tone hands, kind of like the cartoon, but they weren't really working out too well. These are not the hands he came with. I don't know whose hands those are. Just kind of dipped into one of my extra hands tubs and pulled these out. So yeah, I think I've probably gotten a little bit better of a photographer since the beginning. I'm definitely going to be taking a break now probably for over like at least a week before I post another shot. You know, when you do this competition, you kind of just like bombard your feed with so much content that Instagram or however you're posting is like, okay, that's too much content, we can't get all your content out there, so your views are going to go down. So from the beginning of the month, the views were very high. I was getting lots of followers, lots of views, and then it just kind of dwindled and dwindled and dwindled and dwindled to the end of the month where I was basically getting like half the views I normally would, which I'm not mad about or anything. It's something I've noticed over the last couple OcTOYbers, but it's also kind of annoying because you put in all this work and it kind of snowballs towards the end, and as you're snowballing towards the end, the views are going down. So that's why I'm going to take a break, step away from action figure photography for like a week or two, and I think it'd probably be a healthy thing since I've been so on top of it over the last month. But hope you guys liked this video. Hope I wasn't talking too long. Hopefully you learned something or saw something in this video where you're like, oh, you know, I might want to get into photography, or if you are into photography, you might have saw something and been like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Maybe I can have my hand at that. Maybe you saw one of my cool cutouts that you're like, oh, maybe I should source some of my cutouts, read some comics, watch some TV shows, pull some screenshots, stuff like that. You know, these cutouts are so easy to make. If you ever got any questions, DM me on Instagram. I'm always there to answer any questions you guys got about photography. If you have any feedback for me, let me know down below in the comments section. The action figure photography, ACBA, I love this shit, man. So when you guys are about it, I'm all about it. I'm super down to answer any questions, get any feedback, all that stuff. Make sure to check out my Instagram if you haven't already. I have more behind the scenes footage, so if you saw maybe a couple shots in this video that you want to check out even further, I have more content on there for you guys. In the meantime, this is Century Productions. Thank you for watching, and I guess let's check out this final shot here that I haven't showed you guys yet. Thanks, guys.